Oh, hey guys, welcome back to Too Far Gone Media. Marc Couture here, and today we're going to talk about Bill C-11. Yes, the tyrannical bill that is going to give even more censorship power to the government of Canada over its citizens. So let's just take a quick look here and see what's actually happening within the House of Commons, and we'll get it straight from the crooked liberals' mouths themselves, so you can get a gist of what's to come.
Madam Speaker, it's an absolute privilege for me to stand in the House today to speak on behalf of the residents of my riding of Davenport, to speak in support of Bill C-11, an act to amend the Broadcasting Act and to make related and consequential amendments to other acts. I'm truly grateful to the leadership of the Minister of Canadian Heritage and the work that he, his department, his team have done with respect to this bill. And as I've mentioned many times in this chamber, my riding of Davenport is in Toronto's West End, is home to more artists, creators, and those in the culture industry than probably most ridings across this country. And so anything that impacts the artists and cultural sector is of great interest to me and to the residents of my riding. For decades, our system has guaranteed the creation of Canadian movies, TV shows, and music. Today, streaming platforms benefit from access to the Canadian market, but have zero responsibility toward Canadian artists and creators. With C-11, our online streaming bill, we're asking online streamers to showcase and contribute to the creation of Canadian culture. Canadians will continue to be able to use social media as they always do, and they will not be subject to this legislation. User-uploaded programs on social media, including those of digital-first creators, are excluded. We know that parliamentarians, broadcasters, cultural creators, and all Canadians rightfully value freedom of expression. We are also passionate about supporting our unique, vibrant culture and ensuring that there is a prominent place on our airwaves, our TV screens, and the internet for Canadian music and stories. Let's be clear. The Online Streaming Act does not force a choice between these important objectives. Our federal government listened to the concerns of many different stakeholders, built on the work of my colleagues from the last parliamentary session, and as a result, changed the approach to appropriately recognize the role of social media platforms. Under this approach, users of social media, including online streamers, are not impacted. This bill will not impact their choice of freedom of expression. The approach, Madam Speaker, is simple. First, the users of social media services are not considered broadcasters. They will never face obligations under the Act. That means that you and I, no matter how active we are in social media, or what we post or read or comment on, will always fall outside of the scope of the Broadcasting Act. The Online Streaming Act is not about our activities on social media.
Okay, so she's saying that this is not going to add any censorship or stop us from, speaking out as we feel. And I got multiple videos that have been pulled off YouTube stating otherwise already, and others that are partially ready to be taken down as soon as this bill comes through. I guarantee you half of my stuff is going to be removed. Let's look into this just a little bit more, because I don't trust a politician, to be honest, and even less do I trust a liberal to tell me anything of the truth. So let's look into this a little bit deeper here. All right, so the source I'm going to use today is Reclaim the Net, which is a pretty good source for decent journalism as far as the truth. So here it goes. The push to get Canada's controversial Bill C-11, otherwise known as the Internet Censorship Bill, is entering its final stages as MPs in the country's parliament will now debate on it. Those opposed to the bill are calling on Canadians to contact their MPs and ask them to vote against this legislation, which, if passed, is likely to make radical changes to the way Canadians are allowed to express themselves online and what content they will be permitted to access. Okay, let's just think about that for a second. We have had some serious issues with the government's overreach, and that's what most of the Freedom Convoy was about. I mean, yes, it started with vaccinations to cross the border, but it became something else because everybody who was scared inside finally came out and started to speak, and then came to realize that we're not alone. And we got together and we started speaking out about just the overall overreach, the mandates, everything that the government has been doing, that as far as most Canadians are concerned, yes, not a fringe minority, it's actually a heavy minority in the 70s%, that we don't want the government intruding in our lives anymore. Like, we're sick and tired of it. My body, my choice, my children, my rules, my house, my house, my house. You know, so let's keep going here. Let's get a little bit more into this. Like any other declaratively liberal democracy that finds itself dangerously close to undermining the very foundations of its own system, Canada's government is assuring citizens that their freedoms will not be curtailed in any way. However, while the politicians' lips say one thing, the draft law itself and its wording speaks another story, critics are warning. So that kind of tells you right there. And it's a very ongoing thing with politicians, especially with the Liberals in the past couple of years. They keep saying they're going to do one thing, but everything is worded in such a way that they can easily flip-flop on that, and they always do. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, unless they want to reword this in such a way that it is made for the people, and probably should be done by the people, not the goddamn government. I don't know, man. Like, this is the kind of territory that they're just. This is overreach. Now, this is overreach. Let's keep going. The bill wants to force social and other online platforms to artificially prioritize certain categories of content. The bill is the brainchild of Canada's Minister of Environment and Climate Change, Stephen Guilbeault, who back in 2020 served as Minister of Canadian Heritage, when he said that once the bill became the law, a new regulator will be appointed to make sure it is implemented and hate speech monitored. That's more than just hate speech monitored, everyone. That's them literally, if they don't like what you say, if you hurt their feelings, they shut you down. That's right. So this is all about feelings now. So facts, science, all of that means nothing anymore. Now it's about feelings. You know, feelings. Feelings that a man is not powerful enough to win against other men in swimming, but then all of a sudden needs to feminize themselves so that they can win and feel better. Yeah, it's, let me tell you something. Feelings is a big, big, big problem. Let's keep going into this a little bit more. The main criticism the bill has faced from a flurry of free speech advocates of various ideological and political persuasions is that the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications, the CRCT, a broadcasting and telecommunications regulatory agency, will now serve as the government's tool to regulate the internet, as well as fairly explicitly ending the era of the open internet in Canada. Although that crucial quality has been steadily eroding across the globe for years. So there you have it, everyone. The Liberal government really does not care about its populace. It looks at us. We're almost cattle to them. We're literally cattle. Yeah. So if that's all they really think of us, I mean, what? You know, I wish I could just stop paying my taxes. You know, screw you. But they do it through the employers, so that you can't do that. You know what I mean? I don't know. Something terribly wrong with the world today, and you can blame 95% of it on governments. because I mean we're becoming too Americanized. We're not Canadians anymore. And not just that, I'm going to mention it. I'm going to mention it again and again. Actually, I'm going to work on a video for that before my channel gets shut down through censorship. And that's the Five Eyes. I'm going to tell you all right now, all the Five Eyes have been systematically shutting down all the rights of their citizens one after the other. And the only one really that's left is the United States. And there's only one reason for that. The major of their populace is still armed. And an armed populace is a hard one to control, especially when you want to try to take away all their civil liberties. Just like they did us here in Canada. That's right. Home of no more civil liberties. That's Canada. Marc Couture for Too Far Gone Media. Be safe out there. It's so worse every day. And stay sexy, Canada. Ow, ow.